I gotta make a phone call if anyone could see me. I'll be right back. But I'll take a break here for a second. So just let people know. I had to change. I don't know what's going on. All right, coming back. One of the things about doing these videos, by the way. Oh, thanks, Jojo. By the way, you didn't answer. If you could hear me, Jojo. If I mention you, is it all right if I say your real name? Because I keep slipping up. I'm trying to remind myself not to, but... the problem is, so there's two ways I could do these live streams. I could do it through an encoder, such as OBS, which is kind of a different platform, or I could do it straight through YouTube. And I was like doing it straight through YouTube. It was the second time that I went straight through YouTube, but this time it's been freezing up a lot. So hopefully with the encoder, I don't suffer the freezing problems. One of the problems with doing a long live stream like this is my wife could easily check of what chores I did at the house all day. So I have dishes and garbage to do. So, so I'll stick, now I'm on OBS. Hopefully everything goes well. So what I was on about, for those still watching, is the MAGA hat. So we now know that that's race. That's the prevailing narrative, is what I was saying. This isn't just random online people. This is a narrative from all the institutions of cultural power. And when I say that, I'm talking about academia, celebrities like in the entertainment industry, athletics, the mainstream media, tech companies that control things like social media and things like that. All of them. All the people that have the real power and where the real money and all that stuff is. The prevailing narrative, and they're almost all left-wing, establishment Democrat. And they're controlling the narrative such that you're racist if you support Donald Trump. If you don't like Trump and you're like, yeah, that makes sense. Picture that it went the other way with that. Picture then that the Cory Booker comes in and they, for whatever reason, decide they don't like Booker. And they're like, you're racist if you're wearing apparel that has Booker's image or slogans on it. Picture what you would say to that. You would think that that's, it's unreal. You would say that, how dare you? How dare you malign people like that? But that's what we see occurring. And so I don't understand like how people can't see the dangers of this and what's going on and why it's going to lead to ultimately an escalation. This isn't just, and I've been saying this a lot, the theme's been, you know, the trope is Republicans think Democrats are stupid, Democrats think Republicans are evil. And we're starting to see it escalate more and more and more and more. Now you got a MAGA hat on, you're a racist. Even if you're a kid and racists start screaming at you, well, you provoked it, you brought it on. That's where we're at now. It's going to get worse. And when all the power is consolidated in one group that's all saying, yes, if you're supporting this other group, you're a terrible person. It's a provocation and all this stuff. What do you think's going to happen? Violence becomes inevitable. There's no longer room for debate. There's no longer room for discussion. The people that have no voice anymore, where do they go? Well, we've seen where they went. They go online. Now we see the mainstream media go after fake news, censor it, take it down. We see the social media companies. Yes, we need to take... And that's where I want to go next with this. Let's look at Twitter for a minute. There's a big debate whether or not the government should step in and stop what these social media companies are doing. I think they should. I think that there needs to be something like an Internet Bill of Rights because I feel that these social media platforms are the new public square. At this point, it's so important to people's discourse and how they communicate with the people. It's like the telephone. Imagine that telephone companies, right, Bell Atlantic or whatever, when they're putting telephone lines in, and you basically had to go through one or two telephone companies. Imagine if they said, by the way, if you like Trump, if you like whoever the president would be at the time, the Republican, you're not allowed, we'll kick you off our service. You're not allowed to be on our service, based merely on your political persuasion. No telephone for you. People would say, well, you can't do that. The telephone was crucial to the American way of life. It was a necessary commodity for all sorts of things. For your economic success, for your health and safety, if you had to call like emergency service, police, things like that. So yeah, you shouldn't be able to kick people off for that. Now the same people that think that a cake baking shop's important, that they should be forced to bake cakes for, which, let's be honest, cakes aren't crucial to the world, to your communication and things like that. But they think that they should be forced to bake a cake for a gay couple, are the same people who are saying, yes, these private organizations have the right to kick anyone off. And it's not just that they're kicking off people, it's that they're acting in concert. So PayPal and Twitter and Facebook and Google, and they'll all kick you off at the same time. Boom, like that. Boom, 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 done. They're all acting in concert. We see that these pay services like PayPal or Patreon are kicking people off, and not. So they're like, go start up your own service, but we're not going to allow you to advertise it anywhere, and we're not going to allow money exchanges to occur from it, and blah, blah, blah. And so it's basically like, build your own internet if you don't like the internet, which is absurd. So I think the government should be involved, but that's kind of a tangent. This is the reason why, though. This situation proves it. So everyone was kind of talking, is like, oh, here's what happened, right? And this isn't a further attempt to shirk the blame from the media. Here's what happened. There was this Twitter account that was supposedly from a female teacher in California that originally started to spread this video. But it turns out it's actually stationed in Brazil or something, and they tweet something like 140 times a day, and it's all to cause division in the country. And so Twitter saved us. They removed that account. They did it. Twitter removed the account. Woo! Thank goodness. So we're all safe now. It wasn't the media's fault. I mean, what did you expect the media to do? Get the facts before they reported on a story? No, they just relied on Twitter. Isn't this an admission that the media is worthless? Now, keep in mind, the media is always beating their chest. Trump kicked Acosta out? This is a danger to our country. A free press is so important to the safety of a democracy, and Trump's attacking that free press. Never mind that Obama had arrested more whistleblowers that work with the press than all presidents combined. Never mind that he actually spied and wiretapped on a journalist that was critical of him. Trump hasn't been accused of any of that, but yeah, you know. What Trump's doing, the free press. They're noble, they're great. The free press, oh my God, they're just great. They're Times Person of the Year, wasn't it? The press. Oh man. Yeah, they're great. The press, they're fantastic, they're important. They're great, noble people. But, what's that? You expect them to do more than just tweet viral videos and make decisions based on that? I mean, you actually want the press to, like, get both sides of the story, report only facts, not take things out of context constantly? Oh, no, that's not what the press... How can they do that? How could they keep up with Twitter then? So in other words, the press... This whole thing's an admission by the press. We're no better than a random tweeter. That's what they're saying. I agree. You're not. You suck. You have biases. You allow them to influence you. You go on about... how important you are, but in reality, you're just pundits, you're not journalists, you're not interested in the facts, and Joy Behar told us what you're doing. You want to take Trump out, and so you're willing to lie and attack kids and mislead and jump on stories without having the facts because you hate Trump. And you thought that attacking these kids and smearing these kids were a method to get to Trump. So that's what the Twitter controversy said. That's what Twitter, when they're like, oh, it wasn't our fault, it was this Twitter bot. It was Twitter. It was that account. It's their fault, not ours. Oh, shoot, thank God. We took care of it, though. Now, back to business. Let's see what else we can find out about this school and mislead people. Did that Twitter account do that? Did it make NBC misreport on that? Did it make the media people that were saying that the basketball three-point slogan's bad? Did it make the media put that 8-second clip up and smear it that we have no context? Was that the same Twitter account? Oh, no, that was still the media. Yeah, there are going to be crappy Twitter accounts of people spreading all kinds of stuff, anonymous people. That's going to happen. There's nothing we could do about that. The media is supposed to be a little better. They're supposed to have integrity and try to get both sides of the story. If not, if they're just going to be like the random person in a bar that could shout anything and not have to back anything up with proof and just malign and spread rumors about people, then can we at least have the media stop talking about how self-important they are? Because they're not. They're just another person at the bar spreading rumors based on what they want the narrative to be. That's it. So that's what I took from this Twitter thing. The second thing I took from this Twitter thing, And again, somehow this is being spread as like, oh, thank goodness, Twitter did the right thing. So Twitter removes this because, you know, it was fake. The person lied about who they were on the account. So we know that Twitter's capable. We know that Twitter's looking at the story. We know they're capable. How many tweets did they remove of people threatening to put the kids in wood chippers, or burn down the school, or fire on them on site, or punch the kids? How many of those tweets were removed? And I've seen reports they were directly reported to Twitter, and Twitter was like, we don't feel that this violates our community standards. Put the kid in a wood chipper? Doesn't violate the standards? Lock them in the school and burn them down? If any of my fans see these kids, fire on them on site? Or how about the one writer for SNL? I'll provide oral sex to anyone who punches one of these kids in the face. None of that. See, Twitter will remove the initial 1-minute clip that was put. They'll remove that Twitter account. But all that violence, nope. Now, if you have something negative to say about, like, the woman in the Ghostbusters movie, then, man, we got to remove your account. But you want to make that threat? You want to threaten these kids? What? Now, keep in mind, right? Was it Gab that got deplatformed? It was Gab's kind of like a competitor to Twitter, or it's kind of a competitor to social media, because the synagogue shooter was on there and he's putting all kinds of racist crap, and they were like, oh, well, we got to get rid of this service because he said a bunch of vile crap and then he acted on it, and so it was up to Gab to police that. That's what they said. So now we have on Twitter a bunch of people saying vile crap, and Twitter, it's been reported to Twitter, and Twitter knows that these kids were unfairly maligned, and they're getting death threats, and they know that these threats were so serious that the school had to shut down, and they're still saying, but we don't think that that's a credible threat. We don't think that violates our community standards. So let's just get it on record now. All those people that talked about how Gab left these horrible threats up there, and then that led to the synagogue shooter, let's get it on record now, right? That Twitter knows about these threats. They know that they were credible enough that the school had to shut down because the law enforcement said so. And they're still saying, we don't think that these are bad. We don't think that these should be removed. Okay? So if violence is acted on these kids, I assume everyone that went after Gab will go after Twitter. I assume that all the financial platforms such as PayPal that said we will no longer work with Gab will say we're no longer working with Twitter. I assume that we'll see media pundits going nuts saying Twitter needs to be removed. Can you believe they pushed for this violence? They allowed it. They knew that it was happening, but they kept letting it go. I assume we'll see all of that, right? Oh no, we won't, because it's okay. Because just like everything, when all these institutions of power, right, they're all collectively like, Trump sucks, Trump is racist. It's okay to attack these children. It's okay. Now, don't you dare say anything about the Parkland students. Don't you dare. Remember that? Remember this Parkland student? And I love the double standard. That's, you'll hear people saying this, right? Like, the Parkland students. Oh, now you're against attacking kids. What about the Parkland students? Number one, anyone who doxed any of those Parkland students or issued threats to them are disgusting, terrible people. Period. Number two, the scope of that was so far less what it is of these kids. Yes, you had one or two public people, like Ted Nugent said they had no soul. Okay, well, that wasn't really a threat. Frank Stallone said that he wished one of them would get punched. Yes, that's bad. That's definitely a bad thing. Frank Stallone, that's who you have. You had some other reporter that said something and then was fired when he said that, like, hoped they got attacked. He was fired from his job. Okay. And then you had a Maine congressperson that said that he hoped they got punched in the face or something. Yep, that's bad. Okay, 4 people. And I'm sure a litany of non-blue checkmarked people. Just random internet trolls. Where does that even stand even remotely close to the onslaught we see? There's always these false equivalencies. Every time something like this happens, false equivalency after false equivalency. Constantly happens. Well, the right, here's an instance of someone on the right doing something. Here, let me ask you this. Show me where we've had white racists yelling at black students or minority students, and then an adult standing in solidarity with those racists, get in the kid's face and start chanting, and the media smeared the black students as terrible people, deflected for the white racist and the guy standing in solidarity get cut in their face. And tons of people, and what little mainstream right-wing news there is, like on Fox or whatever, went out, was encouraging to get people's names, was making it like it wasn't a big deal that these kids were getting doxxed and death threats. It doesn't happen. It's never happened. Yeah, it's a live chat. Me and my smiling face here. If anyone has any points they want me to address, let me know. But yeah, you continue to get this false equivalent. Well, people said some bad things to Hogg. Yeah, those people were bad. Great. Very few people in positions of power compared to the entire apparatus coming at these kids. The biggest story on Friday and Saturday on all these national networks. And then, no, I'll get to that in a minute. So I don't understand this false equivalency. I don't see what the comparison is. Well, let's go on with the Hogg comparison then, okay? So what did Hogg do compared to what these kids do? Now, I've been told, I can't tell you, one of the posters on ATS spent a large post explaining this to me. The parents of these kids, this smirking kid, ought to be ashamed. You respect your elders, and if an elder comes and approaches you, you get out of the way. That's the way it's done. That's what my parents taught me. So it's the kids that are at fault. You have to respect your elder. Okay, person who believes that. Did you also think when David Hogg was shouting the F word and shouting about the elders and how stupid they were, everyone that was older than him and as a kid, how they needed to change things because adults wouldn't? That's weird. I don't remember your lectures about him needing to respect elders. Oh, that was truth to power. Kids standing up. Adults are unwilling to solve this problem, so kids are calling out the adults and they're doing the right thing. So on one hand, we have this kid that smirked that he deserves to be maligned. All the same media people going after him. On the other hand, when you had someone like Laura Ingraham saying good job getting into school, David Hogg, which isn't the nicest thing in the world to say. That wasn't based on a smirk or something. It was based on Hogg continually going out saying adults are stupid, Republicans are stupid, they're evil, the NRA are evil scumbags, they're responsible for kids' deaths, F you, F you, F you. When Hogg was saying all that and Laura Ingraham was like, whoa, that was too much. They said, you can't attack kids. Boycott her. They engaged in a successful boycott. All sorts of companies that advertised on Ingram's show were like, whoa, we can't do that. We can't advertise here anymore. That's what was said there. You can't touch these kids. You can't touch them. You can't say anything about them. And they weren't just standing there innocently smirking. These are kids that are out there calling people murderers, screaming, shouting obscenities, saying that adults are stupid, saying that we need to remove the Second Amendment. Now, does that justify any doxing of them or any threats to them? Absolutely not. That's all equally disgusting. Period. But you can criticize what a kid says. I don't have a problem with that. No one does. If a 12-year-old's just I think you're an evil mother effer because you're in the NRA and you're responsible for all these murders, I'm allowed to be like, I think you're an idiot. That's stupid. That's not me being a terrible person. You should be allowed to respond to people regardless of their age. What you shouldn't be allowed to do is to get in their face and hurl racial slurs or stand in solidarity with the people that are doing it. Or dox them or say that they're terrible people or they're scumbags or they're the face of white supremacy. All based on not words, but a smile. A face crime. Let me take this call. It might be important, so I'll be right back. Hey, what's up, man? we'll see you. Ugh. Anybody still here? Hey, 3 people stuck around. I'm sorry. Work-related business. Sorry about that. Bad form, I know. But when you're doing something long like this, I guess sometimes you got to deal with stupid stuff. So, but yeah. So what was I talking about? The idea then that we have to. I don't know what I was going on about. But yeah, just the idea of Twitter and how we have to. It's all right to go after these kids for that. So now another thing I wanted to talk about was the interview that was done. Now, I already talked about this earlier in the video about the idea of it was privilege for this kid to be able to give his interview. No, it wasn't. Phillips got to give an interview right out of the gate to several outlets. Look at the comparison between how Phillips was treated and how this kid was treated in his interview. Now, picture you're a high school student and you're receiving death threats and your school had to shut down. And because you smirked, right? Picture that. Now, all of a sudden, you're in the Today Show or Good Morning America or whatever it was. National audience. And people are hanging on your every word. You're sitting by yourself. So the woman interviewing you starts asking you a bunch of questions that's geared towards, well, can't you see how it's perceived you did something wrong? So, was it because you were wearing the hat? Can you see that? Isn't just standing there? Can't you see how that's seen as an act of aggression? Would you like to apologize for what you did? Are you kidding me? Where's the questions to Phillips like that? Where's the hard-hitting journalists that are going to be like, you said that the black Israelites were saying a lot of harsh truths that these kids didn't hear in their white schools. Care to explain? Would you like to apologize for that statement? You made all these misleading statements and lies. Would you care to explain? Would you like to apologize for that? That's an adult, by the way. But no, he gets treated with kid gloves and the kid gets treated with adult gloves. I wonder why that is. Oh, that's right. I don't wonder. It's because it's absolutely disgusting. It's cultural Marxism. Let me see what people are saying. But yeah, that's what you see. Now, another attack that's being made at this kid. He went through a PR firm. A PR firm. Can you believe that? When he gave his initial statement, he went through a PR firm. Isn't that terrible? That just shows us something. Yeah, that's what everyone does in this. You know who also had PR firms? Trayvon Martin's family. I guess they're disgusting a-holes too, right? Or how about Christine Blasey Ford? You know, the woman that said Kavanaugh raped her. I don't recall all the left. I don't recall anyone. I don't recall people on the right either saying, oh, of course she has all these statements. PR firm. It's PR firm. So, that's suspect. A PR firm. But where were the people on the left? Now we hear this constantly. So, like, somehow that means that his statement's not valid. That it's not true because he went through a PR firm? Ridiculous. Meanwhile, who's answering Phillips' questions? Oh, he has a media person that's answering for him. He's too busy trying to break into Catholic Mass and interrupt people's religious ceremony. The very thing he accused these kids of doing. That's where he's at. He has someone answering the questions for him. This kid, although he did use a PR firm to help write his statement, gets in front of the cameras himself and, I won't say hostile, but definitely an antagonistic tone in the interview coming from a reporter, and still did a pretty good job. It's unbelievable. I'm trying to see if anything else. I don't see. I'm flabbergasted by this whole issue. It's not that I didn't expect it. I did expect it. You could see where it's coming. And it's going to get worse. This is just the beginning. There will be actual violence enacted on people. This is why when the Charlottesville thing happened and people were like, Trump said good people on both sides. I did a whole thing on how that's ridiculous. He did say good people on both sides. It wasn't the smartest statement, but he clearly qualifies that by saying, and I'm not talking about the racist. So it was just his interpretation that there were people that weren't racist that were there. Now you might say, anyways, I'll get to this in a second because I want to have some more Charlottesville comparisons. But all the media was in a rush to say, all of the people on the left, the Antifa types that came to attack, they armed themselves. They showed up with weapons, shields and weapons and masks. They were great people. They're fighting fascists. I said, no, this is terrible. Just because their opponents are terrible people doesn't mean they're good people. And once you start cheering for this, you're going to open a can of worms. And we're already seeing it. We're seeing that's what's happening. Now children can be maligned. It's okay. They're Nazis. They had a racist hat. He had a racist smile. A kid held a 3-point sign up 5 years ago at a basketball game that went to the same school as him. A kid that didn't go to the same school as him who happened to be gay wasn't allowed to give a valedictorian speech that had nothing to do with him being gay. So it's okay to malign these kids. That's okay. It's good. They're white. They're privileged, says a bunch of wealthy 6-figure income earners. These rural kids, or these, kids from Kentucky, privileged. That's privileged. They have it all coming. So now that we're making that, and we have the other, it's okay to punch a Nazi. And these kids are basically Nazis. They're wearing a hate symbol. It's going to get worse. There are going to be worse attacks. Stop voting Democrat. This is what I told people going into the election. Look, I'm conservative, right? But and I'm Republican, but I also understand the need for at least 2 parties, probably preferably more. And it used to be, I believe in a lot of like low taxation and things like that. The Republicans were kind of the party of businesses and things like that. The Democrats used to be the party of, at least on paper, focusing on workers. And we do need that. You don't want a total monopoly on one party having all the power. So that was good. You wanted that kind of conflict. Leave the debates happen. Let's have the best compromises and the best policies come out as a result of that. That's a good thing. I still want there to be a robust second party. But I said during the Kavanaugh things, this is a bridge too far. It is now mainstream platform of the Democratic Party to say your genitalia is what we should take into account when deciding whether or not we should listen to you. Your skin color is more important than the actual facts. Due process no longer matters. Innocent until proven guilty no longer matters. If you're the wrong skin color or the wrong gender, then you have to prove your innocence. Facts don't matter. You as an individual don't matter. All that matters is your collective group. I said, this is insane. How could you vote for Democrat? We need to vote every single... And this, again, wasn't low-level Democrats. This is what people, leadership people in the party saying this. And it came, it went. Okay, it's done with. People were outraged for a week or so, and now back where we are. Well, and I had people say, it wasn't as bad as I made it seem. Cultural Marxism's a myth, says some smart people I know on the left. That's a lie. Cultural Marxism, of course, that's just a right-wing talking point. There you go. You and your right-wing talking points. Pfft, please. That's it. You honestly believe that Democrats, for example, would allow blacks to be racist just because of their skin color? That would never happen. Oops. That's exactly what happens. Oh, and by the way, not only do they allow them, but it's so common knowledge that this black racist group is everywhere all the time in all these cities that we just laugh it off and ignore them. Now, if we had 2 Klansmen sitting around talking, harassing people, that's a huge deal. All of a sudden, that's a huge deal. But no, cultural Marxism's a myth. It's a myth. Trust them. It's a myth. I said that during the Kavanaugh. I was like, this is going to get ugly. It's going to get bad. And it blew over. Nope. Now where do we find ourselves today? Deflecting and cheering for black racists, yelling at kids, the entire media smearing and putting out deceptively edited footage of the kids to make them look like racist, to then leads to them being doxxed and attacked and their school having to shut down, death threats being issued by public figures, the media saying we're sorry we did that, and then in the next breath doing whatever they can to find unrelated incidents that have nothing to do with these kids but just happen to be done by other white teenagers, even if it's not the same school, taking those out of context and then saying that this somehow justifies or vindicates their stance in attacking these victims. Saying that this Native American man that was got in the kid's face was noble and the kid should back down from him, even though that Native American man was standing with other Native activists that were yelling racial insults at the kids, telling them to go back to Europe, and was standing in solidarity with black racists. And then after all the facts come out, after we can see with their own 2 eyes, still large portions of them saying, nope, the kids are still evil. It's the kids. The kids are wrong. The kids are racist. I know because of that smile. And you've probably seen it going around, the idea of 1984, George Orwell. There's a section going around about the idea of face crimes. And what he's basically saying is, it got to the point where you could be given away to the party. See, if you haven't read 1984, there's Big Brother is kind of the party that controls everyone, and you weren't allowed to have free expression or criticize them or anything like that. You had to be stoic, one of the herd, one of the sheep. Anything that could stand you out as an individual would be criminalized. And so he's talking. He says the character in it says that even the wrong facial expression could give you away. If someone saw you make a curious expression on your face, that would be enough for them to report you to the police, who would then charge you. There was even a word for it, it says. It was called face crime. That's where we're at. Face crime. That's where we're at. He smirked. That's it. That's all they need. White, red hat, smirked. Guilty. Racist. The face of white privilege. He might as well have been wearing a Klan hood. Still saying it today. Still today. Blue check mark. Serious people still saying that today. Large groups of them. Still saying these kids are scumbags. Large groups of both, and non-blue check mark people as well. People that I know that are personally kind of reasonable people. Here's another thing. This is off on a tangent, but I don't care. It's worth saying. Because it just makes my blood boil. I'm sick and tired of people that... See, here's how you know people are liars. I know people personally in my life that are as left-wing as it comes. That have made racial jokes, that have made sexist jokes, that have made homophobic jokes. Yeah, I've made jokes like all that, by the way. I'm running for office. I'm going to go on record and say I've made jokes like all that. Yep, certainly have. And no, I'm not a homophobe at all. I'm not a racist at all. But I've made those jokes. Sure. I know these people that have made these jokes as well, that are then on their moral high horse, acting aghast that other people might say things like that. Aghast. Oh my God. Can you believe he said that now? And I'm thinking to myself, like, dude, I've heard you say worse tons of time. But now that you're on the left and you got a virtue signal every... Oh, I can't believe they'd say stuff like this. I can't believe it. So now we're really going to believe we're going back and we're smearing a kid for other kids' behaviors 5 years ago at a high school, as if you've never said, when you were in that point in your life in school, you didn't say stupid things or things like that. It's a lie. We know it's a lie. It's just, it blows my mind. I'm sick and tired of it. People feigning like, Trump's grab him by the P word thing. Yeah, not good, but he's doing like guy locker room talk. Now, I believe there's a lot of people that have maybe never said things like that. I personally can honestly say, and I'm admitting, I've made jokes about gay people. I've made racial jokes. I've made jokes about straight people. I've made jokes about white people. I'll admit all of that. But I will say this, one thing for the people that know me, I've never been a big man talking about like hooking up with chicks or something. Not really impressed by it. My big thing is someone will tell you this story, like, this is how I deal with it. And I feel the same way about tough guys. Like, oh, I got in a fight at the bar last night. So, like, this will be my way of dealing with that. Someone will be like, oh, man, did you see this chick I hooked up with the other night? Oh, man, she was so hot, and we did this, and we did that, and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, what'd you get up to this weekend? And I'd be like, oh, yeah, I went up to this chick. She wasn't very hot, and she shut me down. She said I'm a fat loser. That's my way of dealing with it, because I'm trying to say, like, dude, I'm not impressed by your sexual conquest story. Whatever. Same with fighting. I beat up 20 dudes this weekend. What'd you do? Oh, I squared up on this real scrawny dude. Nah, yeah, he beat the heck out of me. That's how I deal with this. I'm not really impressed with the big man stories. Not impressed with it. Nonetheless, plenty of my friends told stories like that. I saw plenty of my friends do all kinds of crappy things to girls, like cheating on girls or, doing what they could to try to hook up with, talking like the girls like they were just sexual objects, that now later in life they're telling me like, oh my God, can you believe like the stuff Trump said? Can you believe like, Kavanaugh may have exposed himself one time? Can you believe this? Can you believe that? People disrespecting women like that. Yes, I can't believe that. I heard you do that many times when we were in school, and I didn't think you were a crappy person for it. I thought it was just like, that's how tough. By the way, where I'm from, in the little town I'm from, I've heard women say so many more disgusting, appalling things than what Trump said in that clip about men, about other women, whatever. Wasn't taken seriously, but we have to pretend. Oh, we're all pure. And then we go back and we look, oh, what did kids that weren't even connected to these kids do 5 years ago? It's just absolutely insane. No, it wasn't about you, Jesse, but you know what I'm saying. And again, remember I was talking about the Southern Poverty Law Center and how they say this symbol, it could be legitimate, it could just be mean okay or other things like three-pointer, or it could be racist. And it's all about the intentions of the person. In other words, You determine whether or not that's a good person or a bad person, and based on that, that determines whether the gesture is appropriate or not. And so these people honestly think, oh, well, when me and my friends were talking about sexual conquest and things like that, that was okay because we're good people. But other people that talk about that, they're terrible people. When me and my friends, we acted a fool and said like a poor joke like, it's not rape if they like it when we said something like that. It was a childish, harmless joke. Maybe not the best thing, but, nothing to really judge me on. I'm a good person. I've never sexually assaulted someone. But when a kid we don't even know was from Covington said that to a bunch of racists, now we could use that to smear a kid that wasn't that kid that was smirking at people standing in solidarity with the racists coming up to their face. It's appalling. It's all because it's to do with your group identity and not who you are specifically as an individual. So, I think this story is important because, like I was saying, I warned people with the Kavanaugh. Other people did as well. I'm warning you again. It's going to get worse. There's only two ways this ends. That reasonable people stand up and say, enough is enough, and we will no longer vote or support people in any way. That includes the media. That includes celebrities. That includes politicians that push this kind of identity politics. We're done with it. Or it's going to keep escalating. And the identity politics on the left will rise and rise and rise and rise and rise. And then identity politics on the right, so they're going to start saying, hey, if you could play that game, so could we. So that you're going to see, and like you've seen like Richard Spencer and these other white supremacists and things like that, right? They've said the best thing for their recruitment's been this kind of crazy leftist cultural Marxism. If you're just some guy and you got a MAGA hat and you're like, yeah, you could be Hispanic for God's sakes. I think the wall's important. Maybe you're a legal immigrant. I think the wall's important, whatever your race is. Well, then you're a racist. And you're constantly told you're a person, you're told you're a racist. You're a man, so you're a scumbag for being a man. You need to shut up. You need to take a back seat. Your kids are scumbags if they wear MAGA hats. They're scumbags if they don't cower and back down from racists. They're scumbags if they smile at someone who's standing in solidarity with racists, get in their face, and then lies at them. When you're told that over and over and over and over and over again, what do you eventually do? You're like, and then you got this group over here going, see, we told you. We told you, man. They're coming after you because of your skin color. You better get together with other people like your skin color. It's going to be like a prison environment eventually, right? Where you can go into prison, you're like, I'm not a racist at all. I'm just, whatever, I made a mistake, I'm going into prison. And you get in there day one and you're like, it's basically like, you better join one of these gangs real quick or you're going to get targeted by them. Well, that gang, let's say you're a black person. You don't have a problem with white people, right? Well, all of a sudden, these white supremacist gangs are attacking you. So what are you going to do? I got to join someone that's got my back. I guess I'll join the black gang. Or if it's the reverse. You're white and you go in and this black gang's attacking you because you're white. I guess I got to join people that have my back. I'll join the white gang. That's what we're seeing. That's what this is driving. And that's exactly what the people in control of this country want. They're just waiting. And think about it this way, right? They're waiting for the trigger. White racist, white racist, white racist, white racist, white racist, MAGA hat racist, MAGA racist, racist, white. You react, a smirk. See, we knew it. See, there's the racist. We knew it. We called them racist for hours. We kept it up. We got in their face. And finally a smirk. This proves the racism. We did it. Yes, see? Now let's focus on the evil racist kid. Run the stories nonstop. Dox them. Attack them. They deserve it. They smirked. That was the reaction to being called racist all that time. And that's just a smirk. That's what they want. They can't wait. They want to push you in a corner. Identity politics. Your group sucks. Your group sucks. You're an oppressor. You're an oppressor. You're an oppressor. Until finally you stand up and you're like, I've had enough of this. This is crap. Stop this. And they say, see, look at your reaction. Disgusting. See what you are? That's what they want. So they're driving people into these identitarian movements as a reaction on the right. And then what's eventually going to happen? Well, then that white reactionary group does something terrible. And see, we told you all along. All of our vilification of white people was justified all along. Because after we vilified these white kids over and over and over, then finally one of them said or did something inappropriate. That proves that the vilification in the first place was justified. That's exactly what the goal is. It's to cause this division. And then now, once there's the reaction from the people on the right, then what do you do if you're on the left? And maybe you didn't join the mob at first on the left. But, oh, Jesus, now I see the mob on the right. I better join the mob on the left. And so scenario one is enough rational people stand up and say enough's enough. Stop electing Democrats that have put this as part of their platform. Only vote for a Democrat if they specifically say, I find this disgusting, terrible, you shouldn't be judged. Your race and your gender, none of that should have any influence whatsoever on policies or how we judge you. It is a disgusting, racist, bigoted thing to do. You can vote for a Democrat that says that. Otherwise, that's part of their platform, so you shouldn't vote for them. You shouldn't support any celebrities or media personalities or anything like that that push this kind of garbage. You should reject them all. Once enough people do that, then it'll start to show them, oh, okay, we have to change our behavior. This is unacceptable. That's one way it can end. The other way it can end is horrible division, violence, death. Just like the French Revolution. Once we get so disgusted and from the putrid like violence that will come, then maybe cooler heads will be like, holy cow, what have we created? But don't worry, all that it'll still, the people in power, they'll still consolidate. They'll find a way to take advantage of the situation no matter what. You know, it used to be, you talked about this old trope, it's absolutely disgusting. It would say, black people can't be racist because they don't have the levers of power. Only people in positions of power can be racist. That's garbage. You can hate people for their race, or you could be bigoted to people based on their gender or any other thing, regardless of what your position of power is. And this idea that some races have the power over others, like in different countries, a lot of that's true, right? But it's usually selective. It's in different places. But they would say, but all the levers of power. So even though that's a lie, there's a little bit of truth in this sense. When all of the groups in power act as a collective in one way against another group, and it's almost universal power, there's a lot of danger to that. And that's what we see on the establishment left today. Every single group with cultural influence and power is establishment Democrat. To the point where it is literally just a common narrative that a MAGA hat is racist. You vote for Trump, you're racist. To the point where, like I was saying, this country, if you listen to them, is rife with neo-Nazis and Klansmen. That we need to do everything we can to weed them out. Including, we need to go, if they have a rally, we need to have counter-protests. If people at those counter-protests bring weapons and fight them, that's a good thing. But yeah, black nationalists or black racists are so common, we see them every day, and they should just be ignored. They should just be chuckled about. And to the point where if the kids stood there and listened to them, it's their fault, because we should all know to just ignore them. Do you see the insanity? Do you see the difference there? That's what the groups in power say. I didn't know anything about these black Hebrew Israelites. Anytime a Klansman does something, it's national news. But these people operating almost every day, an organization that founders had chopped off the heads of white people, called for the deaths of them, were charged in a RICO case with 14 murders. No big deal. We hear them every day. Just ignore them. It's a group, they control everything. They control the media. They control academia. Here's another thing, right? When's the last time? Have you ever seen a class talking about the evils of womanhood, or a major? Femininity? Dangers of the matriarch? Oh no, but we have actual majors discussing that. Have you ever seen classes that talk about the evils of blackness? Focused on just how bad black people are and how they hurt all the other races? Nope. Oh, but we definitely have those classes about whiteness and the evils of whiteness and white privilege. By the way, I don't want classes on the evils of blackness and women. I think we should all be treated as individuals. Sure, you could study racial groups and things like that, but this idea that you could have entire majors and curriculum devoted towards demonizing oppressor races or genders or sexual preferences, etc., is ridiculous. All the power in academia is on that side. We know it. We know that's the way it is. We see it over and over. Check out Jonathan Haidt. He has an organization called Heterodox Academy. I'm reading his book now. It just talks about how, particularly in the humanities, how it's a left-wing echo chamber. Establishment left-wing now in universities, to the point where they're trying to censor even conservative speakers going on. So that's academia. Hollywood and entertainment industry, do you even have to say anything? They're the worst of the worst. How many of them are out calling for these kids' heads today? Threatening to kill them. Threatening to throw them in the wood chipper, you know? That... You can't even be, like, what are there, like 2-3 people that you know that are right-wing in the entertainment industry? It's almost universally. So you got academia, you got that. The media, we know, 97% anti-Trump. Totally establishment. Even the slight Republic. Now, there are a few good people on both sides, right-wing and left-wing. But overall, we know. So where do you go from there? Well, maybe we'll go, if you want to have a voice, you can't talk about it in school. If you're right wing, you get maligned in school. Everything's stacked against you. You can't do it in the entertainment industry. You get maligned there. You can't do it in the media. You get maligned there. So where can you go? Okay, I can't talk in those spaces. I don't have space to operate in those spaces. So where do you go? Online. Well, now all the tech companies, they're censoring right-wing people. And by the way, anti-establishment left-wing people also are included in this, because it is just the establishment left. And so what's left? You're racist. You can't talk here. Your voice needs to be censored here. The person you're supporting is racist. Because of your skin color, we could attack your kids if they have the same skin color as you. We have to overlook people, the very things we're screaming about you doing. We know that it's occurring with black people or other groups doing as well, such as homophobia, attacking women, like this Black Hebrew Israelite group does, being racist. But we have to overlook that. We have to, all of that, because of skin color. What do you think's going to happen? You can only push people so far. And they know it because they'll tell you, oh, but you can't be racist unless you have the positions of power. Okay, well, you have all the levers of power. The left has all the levers of power. And they still act like the victims. 90-something% of the coverage of all media people and all their donations and stuff went to Hillary Clinton. But they still had to scream because there was some Facebook post. Russians, trolls paid $50,000 a Facebook post. Oh my God, it swung the election. Only 100%. They were flipping out because this kid got to go on Good Morning America, or the Today Show. I think it was Today Show. Got to go on to Today Show and be asked antagonistic questions by the host. That was considered privilege. Only 100% control is enough for them. That's it. Any little bit that you have. That's how powerful this group is. That's how powerful the establishment left is. And still they play the victim. Still, it's they're victimized, they're victimized, they're victimized. Constantly. That gender pay gap, you go through that, like, this is a myth. And actually it shows young people, girls are graduating schools and universities. They're way outpacing boys now in the education system. And it turns out unmarried women, especially young ones, are actually making more than the men that do the exact same job. Not just like the garbage stats like the gender pay gap that doesn't take people in the same job. We're starting to see that. Doesn't matter. Women are the victim. Women are the victim. Women are the victim. Over and over and over again. It doesn't matter how much power they could have. Men could end up making 10 cents to the dollar of women, and it'll still be those damn men making 10 cents. Who do they think they are? And then finally, and the goal is just to create this division. And then finally, when the other group pushes back, aha, that was justification. That was the justification. We have all the power. And if you don't like it, and if you try to, do anything to kind of point out that power, you're the scumbag. You smirk in the face of racism and in the face of bullying, you're the racist. You're the bully. It's Orwellian. It really is. And it's going to get a lot worse. So it's up to us. And by the way, if you're on the right, and if you're someone who's agreeing with me here and it's fed up with the left, that's why it's up to us to also say, yeah, these identitarian politics on the right are garbage too. Call out the white supremacist as well. Yes, you're right. They do deserve to be called out. Call out calls to violence. Don't allow any of that crap to happen. Be civil. You have the right side of the argument. You're right. History will prove you right. Don't sink to their level. That's why MLK was so effective. He understood. He was on the right side of history. He had the right argument. He didn't need to censor people. He didn't need to attack people. He didn't need to selectively edit footage. He didn't need any of that crap. He had the right argument. You judge people as individuals, content of their character, not the color of their skin. We have that argument. We're right. These people are wrong. I was told, here's some things I was told on ATS where I was talking about this, right? It was unfair of me to malign the Black Hebrew Israelites because I said that their organization was founded with people chopping off heads or, committing murders. And so it was bad of me. And I was just as bad as the left because I was trying to smear a whole group as racist. And that's like saying, oh, if a Nazi said something, then that proves all the right's racist. I was told this. And my point's no, it would be me like me saying the actions of this neo-Nazi is indicative of other neo-Nazis, not everyone on the right. I didn't say the Black Hebrew Israelites are racist, therefore everyone on the left is racist. That's not what I said. And I asked the question, well, would you say the same thing about the KKK? Would you say, whoa, let's not talk about murders that happened in the KKK 40 years ago. That's not the current KKK. And we don't want to smear them all as racist. To which I was responded, how dare you insinuate that I would say that about the KKK? I resent that. Okay, so what's the difference? We have a black group that is horribly homophobic, bigoted, racist. We have a white group that's horribly homophobic, bigoted, racist. On the white group, we say, yes, they're all disgusting. On the black group, we say, well, we got to be careful. My stance is, and this might blow your mind, right? You ready? My stance is, racists are bad. Racist organizations are bad. That's it. It doesn't matter what their skin color is, or if they vote for the same person as me, or what religion they are, or what their sexual orientation is, or how tall they are, or where they went to high school. It doesn't matter. Why would I judge one racist group different than another racist group? Now, I'm not saying trying to malign a group that's maybe like not really racist and trying to smear them as racist. They come right out with it. This isn't ambiguous. They're admitted homophobes. They hate homosexuals. They think white people are disgusting, terrible people that'll be slaves in heaven. That's racism. That's homophobia. That's not one or two people in the group. That's what the group stands for. But I'm told, oh, no. When white people do that with the white group, yes. I would resent that you would even question whether I would insult all them. Of course I would condemn them all for that. But with black people, I'm disappointed in you, Rob, that you would malign that group as racist. That makes you no better than the people on the left. Here's another one along that same... See, and this goes... Remember, I told you about the Washington Post article. Their take on this is, it isn't, oh man, the media screwed the pooch. We jumped to conclusions and we maligned these kids who are now getting death threats. We're sorry. Their interpretation, the real victims are the media. Because what happened was the media was just honestly trying to keep up with the story. And then came the Trump internet to pounce on them. That's the words they used. The Trump internet came to pounce on the media and use this to benefit Trump. You get that? I don't know if they knew this, but again, check out like Tim Pool, I was saying, he had a good point in this. He's like, I don't like Trump at all. And I pounced on it because, it's possible to think that smearing kids as racist and taking out of context is a really bad thing and not be a Trump supporter. It is possible. But now to the media, they're the real victims. To the Washington Post, they're the victims. Right? So here's a common thing I get a lot, especially on this topic I've got. See, when I call out the media's bad reporting of this and how they're leading to this tribalism and division, I'm actually causing the tribalism and division. People like me need to shut my mouth and not talk about how the media did this. In fact, it would have been better if the full video never came out in the first place, right? We should have just let the media smear these kids. That's the appropriate thing to do. That's good. That's how society functions. Now, when you stand up and say, now, wait a minute, this is disgusting, this is inappropriate, boom, now you're the one. You're the problem. You called out the division. Several people have told me that. How do you take this seriously? Okay, I guess just be quiet. Only the media should be gatekeepers of the news? The same people that would have told you years ago during the civil rights movement, we need to speak truth to power. You need to call out when the media or the government's acting inappropriately. Now they're saying, shut up. You're the one that's the problem. Shut your mouth. Know your place. You're privileged. Those unprivileged media people making millions upon billions of dollars, they're the underprivileged people whose voices we need to hear. You, guy with 5 people watching on YouTube, you're causing the problem. That's what I hear. Right? Great. It's great. I can't tell you how many people have told it. And I talked about this earlier, but the real problem with this case is, what should the kids have done differently? Now, yeah, Black Hebrew Israel, yeah, whatever. Yeah, Phil, yeah, whatever. But the kids, let's focus on the kids. That's the real problem. We need to respect our elders. Always respect your elders. Weren't you taught that? Weren't you taught to respect your elders? I wonder if the sit-in, you remember this when you had a bunch of brave young people that were like, we're not going to put up with this racist crap, sat in stores that said they weren't allowed there. Guess who was running those stores? Older people. Why didn't people tell them, excuse me, you need to respect that racist elder. Don't get in his face. Don't challenge him. You need to have respect for your elders. Now, am I saying this is the same as the civil rights movement? No. But we're told that a Native American activist getting in a kid's face, whose fellow Native American activist is chanting and yelling racial attacks at the kids, who's standing in solidarity with the black Hebrew Israelites that just got done calling them homophobic racist slurs for an hour. That kid should have backed down. What's he supposed to do? There's a bunch of people behind him. He says, excuse me, please leave me out of the way. All of us part like the seas. Please, this man's an elder. He's the holder of a sacred pipe, So please part the seas. Get out of the way. Do whatever we can. Meanwhile, if it was the reverse, if it was like a white, person coming up singing a country music tune in a kid's face who had a white friend yelling at minorities, go back to your country, go back to Africa, right? Standing in solidarity with other white kids that were hurling racial slurs at the kids for an hour. Do you think that's what the narrative would be today? You got to respect your elder, kid. That kid in your face singing that country music ditty, you got to respect him. You should have backed down. We know that's garbage because David Hogg speaking truth to power. The young, yeah. It's the same crew that's by the way, it's a global phenomenon, right? They want this globalist kind of left-wing identitarian politics. They want it all over the globe. It's the same people that were saying with the Brexit thing over there. Old people were so terrible. The old people screwed them over. Old people voted for Brexit. It's the same people here you say, like, I can't wait for the baby boomers to die. Old people, they're the problem. They're the racists. Where's the respect for their elders there? The same people saying that crap are telling you, this kid should have bowed down. Coward, please, I'm so sorry I'm white. Please, holder of the sacred pipe, please. Please, let me self-flagellate. What can I do to show that I'm a horrible, sinful white person, a white child? What can I do? You have to respect your elders. Get out of their face. Get out of the way. Is there room to have a discussion for maybe the kids could have acted in a better way? Sure. I don't think the kid that smiled did, though. I stand by him 100%. I think that he acted better than I would have at any point in my life. As a kid, as an adult now. If someone got in my face like that, I'm not a violent person, but I'd have been like, what are you doing? Get out of my face. And then if his buddy started yelling, go back to your country, blah, blah, blah. Or if those black Hebrew Israelites were yelling at me like that, I wouldn't have took it like he did. Especially when I was a kid. I wouldn't have told my friend that started to argue back, shh, quiet down. But that kid's being maligned. Why? Because his face, because his hat, because his skin color. And what do we... I mean, it's unbelievable. We got to focus on so there's room to say, yeah, I guess that these kids could have acted in, like the ones hooping and hollering. Maybe it wasn't the best thing. But that's a little nitpicking, don't you think? Let's spend all of our time talking about that as opposed to, I don't know, the racists that were yelling at them. The actions of the adults. Again, not to go back to it, but like, is this the conversation we need to have of women of sexual... What's that? Women being sexually assaulted on campus. Well, let's have a talk about what these women are doing. Short skirts? Come on now. But what about the men that are sexually assaulting? Yeah, they're bad, but they're everywhere. We just ignore them. Let's go back to the women. What could the women have done better? Are you kidding me? But that's what we see. Or how about the real problem's parenting? That's the problem. These kids they didn't have good parenting. If I was these kids' parents, they'd be in for some discipline when they got home. Why? What did they do? Well, he smiled, and he didn't get out of the way. So, yeah. I would teach my kids, if any adult comes up to you, you get out of the way. That's what I would teach my kids. It's absolute garbage. And these people know it. They know it. They're doing everything they can to deflect. Everything. And that's why, you go to a place, I go to this website, Above Top Secret. I think you should check it out. If not, it does a lot of politics now. But it started up as a conspiracy forum, which it still is. The reason that there's so much politics is, if you're from Above Top Secret, hear me out. You hear this all the time. What happened to ATS? It used to be no one, when Bush was here, no one defended the president and everything. Everyone was conspiratorial about how the government, the two parties are the same system and blah, blah, blah. What happened? See, ATS has always been contrarian. And by contrarian, I mean against the prevailing narrative. That's what a lot of online forums are. Remember how I was talking about how everything's controlled by kind of the establishment left now, academia, the media, etc.? So when you had all the people in positions of power, for example, saying we should go to war in Iraq, what do you think that a lot of websites and social account places like that were saying? They were going on there saying, no, we shouldn't go to war in Iraq. When you had all the media and academia and stuff saying we should bail out these bankers. What do you think the narrative was on places like Above Top Secret? No, we shouldn't. So now when we have all the media and everything saying Trump's the devil, he's Hitler, he's racist, MAGA hats are racist, they're terrible. We need the intel. We have to cheer for the intel communities, the establishment intel communities going after them. And we can't even look at the potential abuses they had. When you see all that happening over and over and over, what do you think the position is going to be on a site like Above Top Secret? No, that's terrible. Right? So it hasn't changed. That's what people say, oh, it's changed. But anyways, that's where I spend a lot of time talking about stuff like this. There are left-wing people there, aplenty. And then so on the same time frame that this story's been going on over the weekend, it's been absolute crickets. You talk about this stuff. First, they were all over it. Oh my God, when the story first broke with the deceptive video, you see how disgusting these racists are? You see how terrible they are? Oh my, these kids, they're the worst, they're the worst. Then as the truth came out, you had 90% of the people that were talking about that, whoop, just gone. Oh, let's just ignore it. And then the other 10% you have, some of which are totally insane that are still pushing it. And the rest are just flat out ignoring, like, the Black Israelites or Phillips. Even people I respect highly on the left are doing that. They'll say something like, they'll give it lip service. They'll go, yeah, of course those Black Israelites were bad and Phillips could have handled it better. But here's an 8-second clip of kids yelling MAGA at a girl, so what the hell does that have to do with anything? You're still smearing kids with out-of-context material. And they don't get it. If the opposite had happened, I would be right there with them. If there was white racists yelling at black minority students like this, I would be like, yes, that's disgusting. I can't believe the media smeared these black students like this. Unbelievable. But it's just, and it's just a total just blackout, like it didn't happen. Oh, no. If you're on Facebook, if you're, hopefully you have friends of all different political persuasions, if you're on Facebook or something. All of the people that rushed to judgment posted the original. Now where are they? Well, some of them, few of them may apologize, but they still think the kids acted poorly. Then you got the, I'll just ignore it, I'm not going to talk about it crew. And then you got the crew that's still like, not breathe a word about the Black Israelites, not breathe a word about Phillips and the racism that those groups had. But they're still like, oh yeah, well, here's a story about a valedictorian that wasn't allowed to give a speech in high school. No, actually, once more, that story's wrong, one. And second, again, you are smearing kids. You're smearing the kids and ignoring the actual racist. Okay, but here's an 8-second clip of them yelling MAGA at a girl. One, again, you're wrong. You don't have context. You don't even know if that's the same kids. And second, here we go again. Nothing to say about the Black Israelites. Nothing to say about Phillips and his lies and racism. I just, like, how do you... And look, everyone who knows, even on this channel, I still will remain to be civil. I'll still reach out to people like that. I still won't treat them as if they're disgusting people when I meet them in real life. But it's discouraging. How do you have conversations with these people? How do you have conversations with someone that could, like, a Restless Land of the world that goes, oh, so I didn't hear everyone chanting build that wall? No, you didn't. Show us the video. In your head, you actually think you did, but you didn't. How do you have a conversation like that? How is it any different than someone just being, that smirk is racist? How is that, like the people that say that the smirk is racist? I know 100% the smirk is racist. It's racist, it's racist, it's racist. He did something terrible. How is that any different than sitting down talking to a white racist being like, do you see that uppity black kid smile? I know what that smile means. I know what that means. I know what it means. How's that any different? All of us would condemn that racist white person, but we have to just pretend to have reasonable conversations with these people? The prevailing narrative of the MAGA hats being racist. Our political discourse in this country isn't, here's why I think this policy is good versus here's why I think this counter policy. The discourse has to be like, we're moral people. Oh, I think I froze up here. Let me see. Can you still see me? Looks like it froze up on my end. We'll see if anyone gets back to me here. Oh, okay. People could still see me. For some reason, the video froze on my end. But anyways, yeah, what was I saying? Did people... Yeah, they are trying to change... Yes, that's exactly what it is. Racism, they are changing the definition of racism. Racism, to me, like I said, just means people that are judging people based on their race solely. So you think that one race is better than another based just on the race. That's racism. Treating people negatively just because of their race. That's racism. Their definition is, but wait a minute, it's more complicated than that. Sometimes it's okay for certain races to treat other races in a poor manner because of historical oppression and things like that. That's garbage. That's defending racism is what that is. But, yeah, why are they coddling the aggressors? Well, exactly, because of cultural Marxism. And so these kids need to be maligned and they need to be attacked. It's the it's the parents, it's the chaperones. We're the chaperones. It's the kids. It's the smirk. We know that smirk's racist. This is what I was saying. Yeah, before I got distracted by my thing freezing. The prevailing narrative is that you're racist if you support Trump. You support Trump and the Republicans. You're racist. So Trump will presumably win the nomination in 2020. It'll be Trump versus someone. And it's not going to be like, well, here's the positions I like of this person versus here's the positions I like of this one. It's going to be one side saying, we are morally superior to you. We have all the cultural institutions of power. We will use this power to tell you, you are a disgusting racist if you don't agree with us. Period. Well, wait a minute. What about this? I actually like this. I'm not a racist. I actually like this. No, you are a racist. You're a racist. You're a bad person, period. That is our political discourse. And then, right, the same people pushing that will go, where is all this division coming from? It's Trump. Trump's the cause of all the division. That's where all the division is. Now, certainly you could say Trump's caused some division. I would argue Obama caused more than Trump ever did. But fine, you could say Trump's caused some division. But you don't get to say that while simultaneously being like, oh, and by the way, everyone who disagrees with me is evil. They're all racist. MAGA hat's a symbol. It's a provocation. It's a symbol of racism. Like, yes, that is you actively causing racism. Yeah, I mean, with communism, I did a whole live stream about socialism, which obviously applies to that, which you should check out. But, I mean, that's the irony. Everyone knows that. I can't remember exactly who said it, but it's like, the first people that they would line up and shoot were the academics that pushed for communism. Those are the first people dead. Look at Venezuela today, right? Now there's this, the U.S. is recognizing the Maduro's challenger as the legitimate president. Hundreds of thousands of people protesting. We're told this is the United States attacking socialism. That's what we're told, right? Okay. But wait a minute. Weren't we just told, like last week, Venezuela's not real socialism? They change the definitions like whenever they can. That's exactly what's going on. It's it's like I said about the Southern Poverty Law Center. They say this, it's not inherently good or bad. It's we will judge you and then determine if the symbol's good or bad. That's what it's the same way with things like they're constantly using semantics because they're in the positions of power in all these cultural institutions. They control the definitions and then use that to their advantage to try to win arguments. So it's no anytime socialism's bad, that wasn't real socialism. Anytime a country has socialistic policies and it's good, that's real socialism. Even if the countries are like, wait, we have free markets, we're not socialist. It's never been done right. It's the no true Scotsman's fault. No, not socialism, not socialism. Anytime someone acts as racist, it's a black person. Well, no, that's not real racism. Anytime someone has perceived racism that's like a white kid who smiles, then that's racism. It's constantly. Like, and I've told this story. I was in this feminist class, right, in college. And it was crazy. I happen to know a little about feminism because as a policy debater, which I was doing at the time, I'd been routinely told by feminists that white males must die, blah, blah, blah. This is like 2003, 2004. This was before all the YouTube feminist videos where you could see exactly how insane they are, right? And yeah, you're absolutely right. Kant's great. But I heard this in debate, and I heard like what kind of the mainstream radical feminism at the time was. Then I go back to my little state school at Clarion University, and I take this feminist class. And we're in the class, and the very first thing, one of the required readings were men are from Mars, women are from Venus, which real feminists would laugh out and say it was a terrible anti-feminist book. So I already was like, what's going on in this class? And we started talking one day we were in there about how to raise a kid. And we were being told that raising a kid feminine in a feminine way, not the kid being feminine, but you as the parent or guardian being feminine, always results in the kid ended up better than if you raised in a masculine way. And I was like, well, are you saying that men are always better than women? No, that's not what I'm saying, because as a man, you could still choose to raise the kid feminine, or as a woman, you could still choose to raise the kid masculine. And I was like, okay, we'll define what are feminine ways to raise a kid versus masculine ways to raise a kid. And this is what they define with. Feminine's like holding your kid and talking to your kid and reading to your kid and loving your kid and treating your kid with comfort and things like that. And masculine is attacking your kid and yelling at your kid and being standoffish to your kid and not having like physical contact or loving contact with your kid. And I was like, wait a minute. So what you basically just did is we'll just define everything good as feminine and everything good as masculine. And then we say, oh, so let's take those words out of it. And so this is what you're really saying. It's good to raise your kids good and it's bad to raise your kids bad. Sure. Okay. Why did you have to attach the words masculine and feminine to them? Well, because it's a sleight of hand, because they're trying to say women better than men. So they'll use terms like feminine and masculine, and then they'll say, oh, no, we're not saying women, right? And you saw this in debate all the time, too, because they know, though they're getting bolder now, as we see with these white kids, but they know it's hard to win the PR battle. It's hard to win the minds of the people outside to just say, you were born evil. We're starting to see it. It's going to get there. We're getting there further. We see it with the MAGA hat kids, right, in this situation. But they always wanted to say, well, you choose, right, to be masculine, or you choose to be feminine. So, therefore, it wasn't that you were born. We're not judging you for how you were born. We're judging you for the choices that you make. And that's what they say. And then they define it in such a way where they just say everything good is feminine, everything bad is masculine. And then they, sleight of hand, try to insert that in other areas of argumentation where they're saying, yeah, women are good and men are bad. That's what they're trying to do. The best argument for that you saw in debate all the time is whiteness. We have to reject whiteness. Embrace blackness, reject whiteness. And I would, okay, define whiteness. Is every white person engaged in whiteness? Well, no. And they can't give you an actual definition, right? To me, raising a kid feminine versus masculine, to go back to that for a minute, it's not just the things I said. I would say raising your kid feminine would have both positive and negative attributes, and raising your kid masculine would also have both positive and negative attributes. There's all kinds of good masculine attributes. Competition, that's considered a masculine attribute, that's good. Self-sufficiency, right? Kind of pulling yourself up to the bootstraps. Working hard, things like that. Those could all be considered masculine traits. There could be bad feminine traits. Over-coddling, over-sheltering, never having any discipline. I don't know. I'm not someone who specializes in psychology to know what feminine and masculine traits are. But someone like Jordan Peterson is, and he talks about how we have all sorts of these, there's the 5 major, levels or characteristics, and all of them can be good or bad. It's just in different situations. But certainly being overly motherly could be bad. So I didn't just define feminine as good and masculine as bad, like they're doing. When it comes to whiteness, what do you mean? Reject whiteness. And they can't just say, well, yeah, reject you because of the way you were born. Though they can, and they're starting to do it, as I said. So they would be like, yeah, it's, because they'd him and haw, and keep in mind, in debate, you only have a certain amount of time. So, of course, they're trying to stretch it out. They don't want to give you an answer. Because what they're really saying is white people bad, but they can't say that. So they're like, So you'd be like, listen, is Eminem white or black? Is that whiteness or blackness? Is Colin Powell whiteness or blackness? Condoleezza Rice, whiteness or blackness? Well, can you define to me what it means to be engaged in whiteness? Corruption and evil and domination and exploitation. That's whiteness. And blackness is loving and caring and And you're like, what the hell are you talking about? What do the colors have anything to do with this? You're literally trying to control definitions to just malign white people. That's literally what this is. It's ridiculous. And when it got down to it, it would be like privilege. If you really could nail them down. Privilege. And I would hear this all the time. Now, I would be hearing this from someone who went to one of the bigger schools in the country. I went to pretty much the cheapest state school you could go to in Pennsylvania. While I was in college, I worked Burger King. I worked at a real estate place, just basically mowing grass and stuff like that. I worked work-study at the school. I had a sister that's 20 years younger than me. At one point, for example, my family was so poor that their furnace went out in the winter. So we were trying to help scrap together money to get like this furnace paid for. I drove like the crappiest beat-down car you can imagine. I had insane student loans just to be able to go to this cheap school. But I represented whiteness. The black person I was debating had a full ride. Like, I'd be like, do you have a car? Yeah. What do you drive? Oh, a Jaguar. Full ride at a prestigious university. Drives a car like this. Comes from a wealthier family than me. But somehow I was whiteness and they were blackness. Yeah, I basically lived in a van. My brother's right. I basically lived in a van for like a year. But that's what we see here. That's what we see with these definite... It's literally just... They don't want to come out and say it. And that's something that... It's so... Yeah, I know. It's something they don't want to come right out and say. It's always him-hawing about. That's what was so refreshing about Joy Behar saying, yes, we get the stories wrong. We jump to conclusions because we hate Trump. So in this case with these kids, sure, the kids were willing... We had to attack these kids and sacrifice them because it was worth it on the wishful thinking that we could get Trump. That's legitimately. That's what she said. That was the omission. They won't come out in a minute. They'll deflect. They'll do whatever they can to just avoid telling you the truth. We don't give a rat's arse that these black Israelites are racist and homophobic and whatever. Don't care at all. We don't care that native man Phillips was endorsing them and standing with them in solidarity. And his friend was yelling racial attacks at the kids. We don't care because the kids are white and they're not. We don't care. That's the truth. So we'll deflect. We'll pretend. We'll act like oh yeah, it was bad that they said that. But the kids, here's an 8-second clip. Here's what their basketball team did 5 years ago. But no, trust us. We're concerned about all racism. We're concerned about it all. Yeah, trust us. I did not live down by the river. I lived predominantly between a friend of mine's place and then Indiana, where I used to drink quite heavily between those two places. That's about it. I was always pretty good about not drinking and driving. But anyways, neither here nor there. But yeah, I did live in a van, basically. But yeah, just be honest. That's what it is. And you know it's what it is because they can't give you any definite... If, for example, why do we have to treat black racist groups different than white racist groups? There's no legitimate... They can't give you a legitimate answer. It's just, well, we know the KKK is bad. Yes, agreed. And, the KKK engaged in violence. Yes, so did this black Israelite group. Well, we just ignore the Israelites. We just ignore them. That's what we do. We just ignore them. KKK, no, we gotta freak out if we ever see them anywhere. The neo-Nazis freak out, but the black Israel, we just ignore them. We see, and these kids should have just ignored them. It's the kids' fault. Why? What is the difference? Name me the difference. Well, there's only one difference that matters, and you know what it is. Skin color. It's cultural Marxism. And we see it over and over. How can you explain some of this crap? Remember the song, Baby It's Cold Outside? Like, who was it? Bing Crosby, I think, at one point maybe said it. Sang it. And the song's just like, this is the one that's being attacked where it's basically a man and woman going back and forth where the guy's trying to convince her to spend the night. But he's doing it in this kind of like suave, flirtatious, gentlemanly way. It's like, hey, don't leave the house. It's cold. And she's like, well, I got my jacket. And he's like, yeah, but, it's, no need to get a taxi. Just crash here tonight, And they're like, oh, that's rape. That song's advocating rape. That's like. Meanwhile, Snoop Dogg and Jay-Z and all these people getting invited to the White House under Obama, they're totally cool. All which, by the way, I have no problem with. I have no problem with rap being bigoted towards women or homosexuals or whatever. It's art. It's entertainment. That's what they did. No problem. Baby, it's cold outside. terrible song. Bib Pimpin', great song. Jay-Z's a hero. You know? How can that be? How can it be that they'll no problem attacking Christians over and over and over and over again because of their stance on homosexuality? Which, by the way, even though I would consider myself at this point a Christian, I am not against homosexuality, like gay rights and things like that. I'm for gay rights. But nonetheless, they'll go after Christianity for that. Okay. Yet at the same time, how dare you say anything to malign Islam, which, just as a matter of truth, is far harsher on homosexuality. And it can be seen by the countries that are indoctrinated under Islam. Now, am I saying all Muslims are terrible people? Absolutely not. I know some good Muslims. But I'm just saying, why the double standard? Let's even just say that Islam and Christianity have equal prescriptions for homosexuality. I'll even give that. Why is it okay to go after the Christians, but we can't say anything about the Islam about it? What's the difference? And you know what the difference is. It's cultural Marxism. They don't like these groups that they consider oppressors. They don't like white people. Now keep in mind, the definition of oppressors, right? All these groups, that has nothing to do with your actions, right? It's how you look, your race you're born, your gender you're born, your sexual preferences, your, abilities. Most of this stuff is immutable characteristics you have no control over. What you do have control over is kind of your political ideologies and thoughts and things like that, right? So they take all these groups and they say oppressors, 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 based on stuff you have no control over. They have and why are they oppressors? Because they have the levers of power. They have the levers of power. White people, levers of power. Men have the levers. It doesn't matter if it's true or not. Men, levers of power. Christian, levers of power. Right? All this, that's their contention. Because they're powerful, they're oppressors, they're oppressing these other groups. And these are all things you can't really choose. The religion, I guess you could choose. But you know what I mean? But like I said, you can choose political ideology. So we see that the left, the establishment left, has all the positions of power in culture, academia, entertainment, media, social tech companies. So aren't they oppressors? Well, no. That's different. See, we shouldn't label people oppressors for the things they can actually control, like their thoughts and beliefs. We should only judge people based on their immutable characteristics. Do you see how backwards that is? Don't judge any group. If you're just happen to be born a skin color that we deem oppressor, then that's a stain on you your entire life. But if you consciously choose to be part of a group that is powerful and privileged and could be considered oppressor, that's okay. We're not going to judge you for that, as long as it's our group. And you're talking earlier about socialism and communism. That's what it's about. It's all about them getting power. They have the power. That's what's important. Everything else, nothing matters. They won't be honest. Right? This is the problem with the feminist movement and intersectionality and this cultural Marxism. They act like, well, it's just about equality. It's just about equality. No, it's not. You can see the veneer crack when you start to talk. It's about revenge. White people are crappy. Flyover country's crap are a bunch of 10-toothed hicks. They're all racist. MAGA hat's racist. They're scumbag. Yeah, we need illegal immigration. Don't you think a little, the same people that think that this smirk's racist? Can we agree that the people that malign these kids that are continuing to go after them, that are deflecting for the actual black racist, right? Yes, yeah, I have drone tech. I'm almost finishing up. Yeah, I could talk on your show as well. It'll avoid me having to talk to my mean wife, so when she gets out from work. No, I'm just kidding. I told her I'd be on YouTube most of today because I actually have a fun trip to Pittsburgh planned with some old debate friends. I'm going to an escape room. Hopefully not like that terrible Saw ripoff movie that just came out. But anywho, yeah, what was I ranting about? But yeah, this idea, they just want power. And you can hear people that talk about the dangers of communism and stuff. Milton Friedman, for example, said this once. God save us from the well-meaning man who knows better than you. Those are the people we should be worried about. They have whipped themselves into moral superiority. And they need to consolidate all the power, and you need to shut up and be dealt with it. And they know what's best. There are other people like that, like Stalin and Mao. Do you think they got in saying, yeah, we want to kill a bunch of people? Of course not. But they had to do what was right, And so now we see that we're in this situation where, you're judged based on your race and not by the actions you take. So it's a really terrible thing. Is there anything else I wanted to say? Does anyone have anything specifically that you wanted to talk about? Oh, I guess this is worth talking about. See, I'm going to do a video probably of, I saw the 5, which, again, it seems like I watch a lot of media. I don't. I watch a lot of aggregates. I don't have cable at all. So I'll watch, like, some aggregate sites. Or, like, my friend Drone Tech, it's on here. He's got an awesome channel where he'll point out just sections of the media and how insane they are. So I watch a lot of stuff like that. So I watched this clip, like an 8-minute clip of What the 5, which is a Fox show. Greg Gutfeld's not so bad, though. He rushed to judgment. He attacked these kids out of the gate. And I wanted to have their take on it. And it got to Juan Williams, who's a black gentleman who's like the resident Democrat that's on there. And I couldn't believe, like, you just can't believe the callousness. Like, one of the things he says, he's like, a victim? We're treating this smirking kid like a victim. How is he a victim? I don't know, the death threats, the doxing, the fact that he's being maligned as the face of white supremacy and racism, the fact that they're threatening to call any colleges he wants to attend to say that they'll boycott those colleges if they take him. How is he a victim? How do you even respond to something like that? And you know darn well if the races were reversed, Juan Williams would be like, my God, this poor victim, this poor kid. It's just absolutely mind-blowing. You don't know how, I'll keep plugging away. I'll keep doing my best. I try to give people the benefit of the doubt. But what do you say to this? You know? What do you say to the people that, you know, are convinced they heard things that weren't said? Who's that? Gutfeld. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I mean, and now it's like, you know, so you're thinking of, like, you know, I told my wife, like, I would like to get a picture, because I am running for office and I am doing things seriously, but I don't care. I still have a sense of humor. I would love to get a shirt made with Sandman, the kid, with the smile in the Obama, like, blue and white. And instead of saying hope, it just says smirk under it. I think that would be an excellent t-shirt. That's where we're at as a country. The people, the journalists in this country, the self-claimed defenders of democracy, right, went absolutely nuts because a kid smiled. And now, even when they feign admitting an apology and say we'll do better next time, or digging up things that have nothing to do with the kid from other events. And tons of people are eating it up. And here's probably the last thing I'll say on this, right? I think that situations like this do help wake people up to, my God, how bad the media is, how disgusting some of this stuff is. Imagine if they're lying to you about this, what they're lying to you about difficult things that are harder to kind of look into yourself. Such as what's going on in Syria, bailing out banks, Federal Reserve policy, the Mueller investigation. I said, imagine that this situation, right, had been in Syria, right? Imagine that you just saw there was some kind of conflict that was going on in Syria, and a viral video went out, and it looked like pro-Assad people, let's say, did something really horrendous, right? These anti-Assad people were peacefully praying, and pro-Assad people, it looked like they surrounded them and were cheering at them. And that's, see what a scumbag Assad is. All the national media start playing. What are the chances we get the full video of that? Probably slim to none, coming out of Syria. And so to this day, we're still believing the media's lie. Who didn't fact check, who didn't bother to contact people. They just took what some Twitter poster put up and said, yep, that's the truth. That's what they did. Imagine that this happened, you know, in a time before cell phone cameras or something. For some reason, the native people that obviously had an agenda, these native activists, had a little camcorder, but people didn't have smartphones, and they just released that little 1-minute section. Imagine what that would look like. We'd have never known the true story. And you would have believed it. You know, a lot of people would have been like, yeah, that looks really bad. Looks bad. Now, imagine this. Do you know what deep fakes are? Right? It's this technology that you have now that you hear people talking about being worried about it, where they basically, if there's enough footage of you online, which at this point there would be of me, or enough footage to be able to do, they could put basically your face on another body and look like it's you doing stuff. They could even do it with your sound. If they're willing to take videos like this and deceptively edit it. What's going to stop the media from doing this stuff in the future? They're not journalists. They have all this power, all these academic people, like they control all these institutions, and they're willing to lie to you to smear children. It is the Running Man, right? I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm optimistic. What I am optimistic about is that, like, people like us that could be online, or people like Drone Tech's channel, or other alternative media people can get on and voice their opinions. But they're trying to censor that more and more. But I do think people are starting to wake up. I'm running for District 12 for the House of Representatives in Pennsylvania. So it goes like Center, Clinton, Tioga, Mifflin, a bunch of counties like that. It was a seat, I won't talk too much about it here, I'll talk about it later, but Tom Marino was a Republican that held the seat, and he got elected to his 5th term, I believe, and then had it for like 3 weeks, and then decided to resign to take a job in a private company to go make a bunch of money, I'm sure. So there has to be a special election, so I'm going to be running for it. If I don't win that seat, I'll be running what is currently District 15 in 2020. I'll be running for Congress for that as a Republican, but I'll do videos to talk about that later. But, yeah, so we can't trust these groups, and they control all this power. And people keep saying, well, they apologize. Maybe this is the impetus for they'll get better. Really? NBC apologized, then immediately went out and smeared the kids again with nothing to do with this by saying, oh, their school didn't allow a gay person to give a speech. Oops, turns out it had nothing to do with him being gay. Oops, turned out it wasn't the right school. And oops, even if all that would have been true, what the heck does that have to do with this smiling kid? He has no control over that. Imagine, and the people doing this, right? Let's take, I don't know, the media that's doing this. Oh, okay, so the NBC media says because other people may have done bad things there, then that somehow justifies the maligning that these kids are getting? Shall we look at the NBC culture? I don't know, do we have any people there that were accused of sexual transgressions and things? Does that mean I should look at every NBC host and go, oh, you're from an institution that had people sexually harassing and assaulting women. Therefore, I think you need to be maligned for that. Would NBC be cool with that? How about Hollywood, right? They're quick to jump on the bandwagon. They're quick to say, here's things a basketball team did years ago. Okay, can we look at Hollywood and see the actions they've taken and malign everyone in Hollywood with that? Oh, pedophilia, sexual assaults, Harvey Weinstein, Kevin Spacey, Bryan Singer now we're seeing, Bill Cosby. Oh, we have to malign those whole groups for that? So no, they didn't learn their lesson. And things are going to get worse. And it's going to be used to control people. And then you have people, whether willingly or unwilling, are like, more power to the government. More power to these groups. We need to consolidate more power. We want global governance. Allow them to have control of the narrative. Less voices, less independence. That's what people are cheering for. So, yeah, well, I hope you like these 2 live streams I did. Hopefully, I'll get in touch with my friend Drone Tech here. Check his channel out, and maybe I'll be doing something with him later today. We'll see what he thinks. And, yeah, he did a really cool video. He actually went to Covington High School and talked to people on the ground. And my impression was most of the people didn't watch the full video. Still. Or they did, and they still kind of had these crazy, I just don't know. Not the Me Too, but the Women's March leaders are getting in trouble. They're anti-Semitic. Which we knew. They had people like Linda Sarsour. We knew they were anti-Semites. But it was okay, because they hated Trump, so we could overlook the anti-Semitism. And I'm sure somehow, the Women's March leaders being anti-Semites is Trump's fault somehow, I'm sure. So, alright, well, I hope everyone liked this video. Like I said, if you haven't, I'm sure probably most of the people here have subscribed to my channel. But give me a thumbs up, a like on my videos if you can. And recommend me to other people. Yeah, and if any of you, by the way, yeah, 3 o'clock's fine. My website, it's just, I just put rob.noerr.com. I don't own the website. rob.noerr.com. My email is robnoerr@gmail.com. And if you ever want to work with me with a video or anything, you can get in touch with me there. You could try the one on my YouTube channel, MC Grambler, but it's like, I don't know. it was a weird thing. Basically what it is, when I started my channel, I didn't know if I wanted to use my real name. And so I went by Grambler, which is my ATS handle. And I can't change the damn email for my Robert.noerr YouTube account. So the best way to get in touch with me is rob.noerr@gmail.com, or my Facebook page or something like that. So thank you again for everyone. Yeah, I guess I'll be with Drone Tech at 3 o'clock over on his channel. It's worth checking out. It's I'm sure you people know more about tech than me. You can click his name and it'll take you to his channel. So thanks again for listening to me ramble on for a couple hours, or closer to 3 or 4, I guess. In this 45 minutes, if my wife's watching, I'm going to do the dishes, I promise. So, all right, everyone. Thanks so much again, and have a good one.